Hi, welcome back. Yeah, I kind of was just a fraction late. I was struggling to get things sorted out, surprisingly. This happens with live streams. But anyway, it's more painting miniatures. I'm on holiday and lots of discussion because that was my plan from the very get-go, was to do lots of discussion. Very informal. I'm not going to be doing anything that's pre-planned in any major way, so feel free to ask whatever questions you would like to ask. If you have some paints and miniatures or brushes, feel free to join along with me and paint along with me while I have a chat with you. Otherwise, if you're not here for miniatures, just ask me questions. Keep me busy, keep me occupied. Otherwise, I'll run out of things to talk about while I'm painting this. So let's get started. So sit back, get ready. Let's make this happen again. Hi, welcome to HowtoDandD. My name is Fred Weller and today I want to talk about Dungeons & Dragons. Yeah, well, kind of. I'm going to be painting a stone golem. That's right. I'm going to be painting a miniature, a Dungeons & Dragons miniature. And of course I will talk as well, but the idea is I'm going to paint the stone golem from the Nolzur's miniatures line for WizKids. And the paint scheme is not complicated. So if you are very new to Dungeons & Dragons, I feel that you will find this particularly simple as a task. It's not got a lot of things you have to do with it. There's only a few colours to work with, and the paint scheme, it doesn't really require an awful lot from you. So, which is good, because then I don't have to worry about doing anything spectacular, but I will try to do something with it. That's the plan for today. But while we're doing that, I thought it would be good to do a poll. We've been doing a lot of polls in these live streams, and I think we're going to keep doing them. And obviously, it's going to be about what experience have you had with the stone golem in Dungeons & Dragons? Why not? That seems to be the best question I can think of right now. How's it going, Gamers Hall? Welcome. I do hope that people enjoy the discussion for today. So this is my miniature. One of the things I will say about this miniature is when I put it to the test in terms of filing, it was actually pretty good. There was a lot of the seam lines actually fall exactly in line with edges that didn't really need to be touched, where the seam lines almost become part of the miniature, which is great. That means that you don't have to worry too much about breaking anything off. Nothing's going to break on this thing, because none of the fingers were probably the hardest aspect. And I mean, granted, there probably is a little bit of flash around them, but significantly less than some of the other miniatures that I've seen. But let's get started. We've got a lot to cover today, and I don't plan to do more than one live stream on painting a stone miniature. So I'm putting this onto a little pill bottle or a vitamin bottle with some blue tack, and that'll help hold it in place so I can work with it. I'm going to be using a pretty simple brush. It's just an old brush. I just got it from a $2 shop, so a Chinese Emporium or something like that. You don't need anything fancy, otherwise you'll just ruin it. And I'm just trying to get the black on. So the plan for today is to go black, greys. I've got a couple of greys. I'm going to use brown for the base. Okay, that's the area that it's standing on. And I've saved a little bit of red for the eyes, depending on whether I feel like I can pull them out. I'm not entirely sure that pulling out and putting red eyes on this thing is going to work, but it's there just in case I want to do that. I'm using Vallejo black, for those of you who are wondering what color I'm using. Right. Let's get this out. Oops, wasn't expecting build up of paint. We'll get rid of that, move that over there. What do I want? I want this to go here, and I'll put that big chunk of paint over there. All right, cool. And we'll put out quite a bit, and I'll get rid of this. So I'm going to do my best to try not to get my hand in the way. And while I'm doing this, I'm going to talk about, obviously I'm going to talk about the stone golem, because I thought that would be a good topic for today, until somebody comes up with a better topic for me. Now, so I've wet my brush. I'm not watering down the paint because I don't really, I mean, I had a problem yesterday with the humidity and the paint not drying, so I don't want to fall into the same trap. And so I don't want the brush too wet, but I don't want it completely dry either. Okay, so let's work our way from the top. And I think it's going to be perfectly fine. I'm hoping that the miniature dries relatively quickly. We're going to be doing some dry brushing today with this particular miniature. Okay, so with regard to something like a stone golem, which you may or may not have encountered in Dungeons and Dragons yet. For some of you, you may never have come across it, and others you may have come across more than one. They are probably the most, well, yeah, the stone golem is likely the most iconic construct in any kind of fantasy game. Out of all of the golems, it's probably the one that you are aware of and have seen or heard of or read about in any kind of fantasy. Hi Camille, how's it going? What's the best set for painting for D&D? The best set for painting. Do you mean miniatures or do you mean paints? Because frankly, if you're talking about paints, I think anything that's Vallejo, Army Painter, or Nolzur's Marvelous Pigments, I think they're all fine as paints, because Nolzur's is just the Army Painter paints, so you're not really getting anything different. It's the same product, just rebranded. If you're talking about miniatures, that's a bit different. So what I would say is, although Citadel Paints or Game Workshop makes a good paint, they're quite thick. They don't really have that much median in them, and therefore you have to thin them down. But not only that, they come in a lift-off, okay, paint. Okay, so I'm on the right track then. If they come in a lift-off cap. Now that was done deliberately because they figured that people would have to buy more paint, since one of those little pots of paints can last you years. Like, seriously, if provided the paint doesn't go off, it might last you 10 years and you never need to replace it because you just don't use that much of it. And so Games Workshop decided to make them a lift-off cap, which is there's a high probability of spilling the paint everywhere and having to replace. It's a ludicrous and underhanded technique by them. I do not like it. A lot of other painters do not like it. Squeezy bottles are much better, and yes, you might wind up buying one colour paint from them and it lasting you 10 years or more, depending on how good the paint is. But that is a much, I mean, considering how expensive paint is, but there are plenty of people in here who paint who can tell you what paints are good and what are not so good. The Gamers Hall, maybe paint their red eyes first, then paint around them, makes it easier for eye work. Yeah, maybe. I don't know that there's enough there to put the eyes in. Now that I look at it, I think I was dreaming. Frankly, I don't think it's going to be possible. Which, look, from the photos that I've seen so far, it seems to me that most people aren't doing very much with the miniature. They're really just going with a grey dry brush over black, and that's pretty much it, and maybe a wash if you're lucky. In most cases, they don't even seem to be doing a wash, and then painting the base brown and maybe putting some grass on there or something like that. Okay, so there's not an awful lot going on as far as people are concerned. I need to be moving faster with this brush work. The problem is there are crevices in this thing, so it is entirely possible you may have to put up with me painting this black again to get all the grey covered. Although it probably won't matter if there is grey covering and there is, primer there. Sorry, Rational Ginger. How's it going, Rational Ginger? Main way to paint the eyes is to have very little paint on the brush. You get better control that way. Yeah, that's true, but my ability to control brushes shite, and brushes can do things, so I'm actually going to use a toothpick. Some of the chappies, some of the ladies and gentlemen who follow me when I do any kind of painting have suggested a toothpick, and out of all of the techniques that anybody's ever given me with regard to eyes, I have to say that is the best one. I mean, you can go with a brush which is like a single hair, but that's just too much for me. I couldn't handle that. It's too too difficult for me to try to control a single here and have it go in exactly the right spot. I just don't have that kind of hand control or eyes good enough for making that work. Ramiro, hello, how's it going? I usually skip painting the eyes. Well, yeah, I can understand that. I can kind of understand wanting to skip that bit. Right, so we need to move a bit faster, so I'll get some more paint out. The paint is going on, and I do feel like it is drying relatively fast. I'm just not applying it quickly enough. And I'm actually finding it difficult to get it into all the little cracks and crevices. Who would have guessed? Should be super simple, right, to cover it with just black. Although this brush is not like the best brush under the sun. I might actually switch to a softer brush. That might help get it into the bits and nooks and crannies that I need to get it into. Anyway, while we're here, let's continue talking about the stone golem, because I've used stone golems more than a few times. I've used a lot of different golems in my games. I've fought a few. They're not fun to fight. Usually because if you don't have a magic weapon, you're kind of stuffed. And if you're not casting spells, you're kind of stuffed too. But also too that magic's not necessarily your solution with these things. They've been built to deal with being attacked. There's the intention of the golem, and particularly the stone golem, is it's a guardian, right? It's put there to get into a scrap. So whoever created it has made sure that it's capable of doing so, and doing so very effectively. The idea is that you're not successful at taking it down. So one of the things you'll find is that with a stone golem, unlike other types of golems, is they are cut and chiseled out of stone by a sculptor. So you have to have somebody capable of sculpting stone to actually get the thing built first, before you do anything else. There's no magical stuff that's going to be going on until you have a structure to actually house or be the body of this thing. And obviously, you know, when you're making something that's stone, it doesn't have any moving joints or anything like that. That's not the biggest issue, because magic can solve that problem. You know, I mean, magic can solve all problems, really. Maybe not goodwill to man and woman. Maybe that's not going to be possible. Oh, poor boy. Okay. Anyway, so as a result of that, the rock or stone golem, it comes in like many different shapes depending on the sculptor's design. They can be humanoid like this one. They can be an animal or a beast. They can be a monster. They can take any kind of form and shape you like, which means things like statues can very well be not just an animated statue. They could very well be a golem of some thing. So you've got to be very careful when you see statues in your games. You know you're probably looking at potentially a golem. Not necessarily guaranteed, but there's a high probability that it's there to act as a guardian of some kind. And even if it's not a moving guardian, that might have a different function, which is, you know, as a trap, spray out poison or fire out jets of flame or arrows or darts or something like that. Hi, Steve. I've used a couple and fought several. I am hoping to get one of my groups a bit higher level so I can run an Iron Golem encounter. Yes, Iron Golem encounters. I ran an Iron Golem encounter in the Curse of Strahd. Oh, no, actually not in the Curse of Strahd. Well, yes, in the Curse of Strahd, but the original Ravenloft. Okay, I gave it, instead of 2 arms, it had 4 arms. And my players got rocked. I rocked them. They weren't expecting that. They really got owned. And to be fair, you know, when we were playing, it was Dungeons & Dragons 4th edition. So 4E characters are super powerful. You think 5E characters are strong? You have no idea. You try challenging high-level 4E characters. It's really, really difficult. So I let it let loose. I gave it as many arms as I thought it would need to keep up with them. And it did all right. It did all right. I scared them. The party didn't die. I was all ready to take somebody out completely, but it didn't happen. So yeah, my best efforts at that point, it just didn't work. And the thing is, in this game, is that you find yourself, there's so much magic that can bring you back to life. So character death at high, or characters dying at high level is just not a big deal. I keep having to sort of laugh a little bit. Now, it's a style of game you want to play, and I would say I'm definitely the sort of person who likes a more deadly game than maybe some other people do. But I also like the idea of characters continuing over. So for me, it's more, yeah, they died, now they've got to bring them back if they want to keep playing it. I'm not the sort of person who sort of, when the character dies, particularly from a golem, they have to make a new character. I'm not really too worried about that sort of thing anymore. I don't even have to have a story reason for why it might be possible. And yes, I have allowed characters to bring themselves back to life without having the appropriate spells if they wanted to. I'm reluctant to do that, but I do it. So I am trying to dry off this miniature a little bit and trying to get some of the excess paint off. While I'm doing that, I will answer some of the questions in the chat and continue talking about the golem, because that's what we're doing today. You might have noticed I've put up a poll. Feel free to take part. Right, so now that I've done that, I'm going to wash out that brush, let that dry a little bit, and let's have a look at the chat. What have people got to say? Steve. Also, I'm running Rime of the Frost Maiden, and the players will be playing a golem dragon. Oh. Of an odd material, avoiding specific spoilers. Fair enough, Steve. I totally get it. You should. Don't give away everything. Camille. Camille, I know you've been following me a lot in my videos and my polls. I'm curious, what part of the world are you in? Now, I look, if I've picked you out and asked you a question you do not feel comfortable with, do not answer it. It's just, for me, when I see women commenting on my videos, I'm quite surprised, because as a general rule, because I'm a guy and I'm white and I'm 50, most women are, and I don't have a lot of women in the collaboration videos, just because I just don't know that many of them on YouTube, although I do try. I'm kind of curious, because I feel like it's a good thing. Maybe, that I have something useful to say for somebody other than the guys. Just going to say it now. So yeah, if you don't feel comfortable, don't say anything. So far I was playing with tokens. I made them by myself, and they are pretty good. Yeah, I did a video on how to make monster tokens for Dungeons and Dragons a long time ago. You think they're pretty good? Good, cool. But I want to switch to minis. I don't have enough yet. Is it possible to use tokens and minis together? Absolutely, absolutely. And I look, there was a time when I used to actually show people how to make their miniatures rather than just buy them. And the reason was not so much about cost, although, because sometimes making miniatures yourself is just as costly as buying them, just in sheer time and stuff like that. Okay. I apologize. Sorry, Camille. Okay. The joke is on me. The joke is on me. Okay. Okay, guys. All right, all of you, laugh it up. Come on, stick it in there. You know you want to do it. Oh. Right. So we're waiting for the black to dry, like we were yesterday. Look, I don't have a blow dryer, just like last time. Maybe I should pull out the no, I'm not going to do that. No, I'm not going to do that. Funny, yeah, I know it's definitely funny. Yeah, no, Rime of the Frost Maiden, I'm aware of the adventure, Steve. They were about level 13 when they faced the Iron Golem with 4 arms that I put into Castle Ravenloft. There is stuff there, and yeah, 4-armed Iron Golem is what they got. Hi Helga, how's it going? Overboard DM, hello Joe, how's it going now? Overboard DM has a YouTube channel, deals miniatures, terrain, reviews, go check him out. I have a Chain Golem miniature from the 4th edition. Yes, I actually have a Chain Golem, I have a few Chain Golem miniatures. There isn't any stats in 5e. Yeah, no, I know exactly what you're talking about. The Chain Golem is on a huge base and it's like 6 inches tall. I know exactly what you're talking about. It's really impressive. And I would really love there to be a Chain Golem. But there isn't one in 5e. It's a terrible monster. The chains give it reach and just change it up completely. Oh, pardon me. I feel like maybe I should... No, my lamps don't give off any heat whatsoever, so it's not going to make any difference. What I will do is I will talk a little bit, and then I will definitely just bang on another layer of black so that we don't fluff around for too long. What's the Steve? Camille, in my opinion, yes, you definitely can. Right, okay. Coins and dice, yes, coins, dice, miniatures, you can mix it up. I've used sweets or lollies. Not a good idea because people like to confuse you and eat them before they've been killed. And then there's also the confusion about which sweets or lollies you're allowed to eat and which ones represent a monster. Basic is brutal, Pale Rider, absolutely. Snake bites, you have save or die, laugh out loud. Well, poison was very different in older versions, right? Save or die, and that was it. Drollems? I don't know, drollems? Do you reckon, is there a drollem? I've never heard of a drollem before. This is new to me. Lupin, hi, how's it going? Hey dude, thanks for coming over the other day. You're welcome. It was fantastic. It was a fantastic D&D game. Sorry I didn't manage to catch your name, but thanks again for letting me borrow your hemorrhoids cream too. It helped a lot. You. That was pretty funny. That was pretty funny. Dear, no wonder people are having a good laugh. Oh dear. Oh my God, I'm sorry. This isn't Andy, the warhog, the village pillager. I'm sorry. I apologise for the inappropriateness. It was funny though, and you're fortunate. I did get the joke. Okay, so I did get the joke, and I knew it wasn't me, and I did understand the joke. So it didn't get deleted. Hi Todd, how's it going? What do you use to connect your mini to the lid? Oh, this is blue tack, or blue tag. Is it poster tack? Some places call it poster tack. It comes in strips. It kind of looks like this, and then you ball it up. So that's what I use. It's you need to get good stuff because if you don't, it just will fall off, and it'll be a pain in the butt. So don't get the cheap stuff, get the good stuff, okay, Todd? Camille, yeah, thanks. I used coins too and stick around pictures on them. Yeah, absolutely. Rationale Ginger, how's it going? Use flat washers with glue on there. Yep, you can do that. And pictures, absolutely. Pale Rider. When we played Basic, we didn't even name our characters until after 5th level. Well, yeah, that's a different sort of style of game, right? It's a very different style of game. Okay, so let's whack on more paint because yeah, we're gonna have to get some more paint. I'm gonna put more black on. I know. Will I? Is it necessary? Let's have a look at it. Oh, I mean, I am going to wash it. I am going to wash it, so it's not like I need to just smash it again. No, I always feel like you need to have at least a certain number or layers of paint. Otherwise, it's very easy for those layers to come off. So let's do this properly. If you're painting a house or painting a wall, remember, if you're cheap, it's 2 layers of paint. If you're doing it properly and you're painting your house or a wall inside a house, it's 3 layers of paint. With a miniature, 2 layers of paint is good enough. Yeah, poster putty and a pill bottle. Yeah, honestly, it works pretty well. No, not a problem. You go to work. I totally understand. I'm on a holiday, so I've got the benefit of messing about. So we're going to hit this again with some more black, and then I will talk about golems yet again while I'm doing that, while I'm waiting for the chat to file through. So now that we know we can have a golem that looks pretty much like anything, they're nearly impervious to all spell magic. So that's why in Dungeons & Dragons 5e, that's represented by having resistance, okay, magical resistance to them. They all have them. So they basically get advantage whenever they make a dice roll to deal with any kind of magical effect. A lot of magical effects have a saving throw, right? The other thing is that any kind of controlling magic, not just spells and magic, but controlling things, you can try to control a golem is very difficult unless it is following the instructions it was originally given, or you have the controlling mechanism. Okay, there's usually some sort of controlling mechanism in there associated with any kind of golem, but certainly with a stone golem, ordinary weapons have no effect on this sort of creature or monster. So you can't just grab a sword or a hammer and just swing away and think you're going to do any kind of damage. It won't even dent it. It won't crack it. You can't do diddly squat. You must have either an adamantium weapon or a magic weapon. Now, for those of you who are interested in how I run my game, and I am not suggesting that this is how you should do it, this is just how I do it. I require my players to have a magical adamantium weapon. They don't just have to have a weapon that's made out of adamantium. It also has to be magical to be able to wail on a golem and hurt it. That is I mean, if you're thinking that I'm making it difficult for the melee characters, I absolutely am. And the reason is that they're usually the ones who can that hit hard and do a lot more damage than spellcasters. And so they are more likely to be able to take out a golem very, very quickly. And they will unload. So paladins and rogues will unload. And so that is one of the requirements. So when they come across a golem and they don't have, in my group, an adamantium weapon that is also magical, because normally you only need to have one or the other, they have to make a choice. If they don't have it, maybe they run. Or the front line does what often we did in Dungeons & Dragons, is the front line would not be the ones who would take out the golem. They would block. They were responsible for stopping the golem from taking out the back line. So that's kind of how I do it in my game. Okay? And try to actually damage the only, like I said, adamantium or magical weapon to damage a towering guardian like this. I really like the idea of making golems truly terrifying. Otherwise, they're just another bag of hit points. They don't have a lot of special abilities, so you've got to do something else with them. And so having the right tools is a necessity. It also means that when they do find that adamantium magical weapon that isn't got a +1 on it, they're more likely to hang on to it, knowing fully well that it might actually have a specific use. Oh, there we go. Car alarms are going. I'm sure it's fine. Nobody's ripping off a car outside. Okay, there we go. So yes, we are black again. Back in black. And I will try to get right up into the keister of this thing. Yep, that's right, in the keister. I'll go over it again to try and take off some of the paint as well, because I don't want it taking forever to dry. I feel like it will dry a lot faster by just sort of shifting the paint, and I don't want it to be too thick, which is a tendency to happen when you put paint on, right? Particularly if it hasn't already dried properly or completely, because paint shrinks. Remember, when you put paint on, all paints shrink to a certain degree, some less than others. Okay, so back to now, once you've got your stone golem all shaped and carved out and created, you actually have to imbue it with some sort of life. So how do you do that? Basically, the idea is you take an elemental spirit from the plane of earth, and it is infused into the stone golem's body. It actually takes over control. There is some magic involved to make sure that the stone is malleable enough that it can move, otherwise it would just break apart when it tried to shift. But that's the sort of the basic concept. Now, how you go about getting an elemental spirit from the plane of earth, well, frankly, what we're talking about are earth elementals, or elementals that revolve around like a dust mephit or something like that, or other things that sort of interact with dirt, rock, stone, natural stuff, right? And that is infused into the body to actually power it. It doesn't have any kind of significant level of intelligence. Most golems' spirit is really mostly a spirit of destruction, and although it doesn't necessarily see itself as destruction because it is an elemental, earth elementals sort of have a very particular focus, in which is to make everything part of the earth. They're not necessarily, I think this is one thing that a lot of people don't understand, is they're not necessarily evil. Their motivation for what they do is completely alien to everybody else, and what they do is destructive to most other creatures, but not to themselves. So, yeah. Anyway, that is our golem. It is all painted black. It is back to, where was I? I was talking, I need some water too. I'm getting very, very dry. I'll show you the paint I'm planning to hit it up with next. We're going to dry brush this thing with Lich Skin, which is a grey that I tried using yesterday and frankly did not have a lot of success with. So if this bull gets ballsed up, it's probably because I've tried something twice when I should have not tried it twice. I'm not going to be using that brush anymore. I'm going to be using a dry brush. This thing. Anyway, drink of water. Oh, that feels better. Now, how are we doing with our poll here? So far, what experience have you had with the Stone Golem in Dungeons & Dragons? So, I have painted a miniature Stone Golem, 20 people, 20%. I have run a Stone Golem. I didn't put in as a Dungeon Master or DM because I didn't have enough space. 20%. I have fought a Stone Golem, 27%. But the largest portion, 33%, have no experience with a Stone Golem. That's really quite interesting. So they don't come up in your games very often. I've got to make a decision about what I talk about in another Dungeon Master Roundtable coming up at some point. So maybe I should do a how to use a Stone Golem in your game. We do, look, I play a game with some of the YouTubers on YouTube called Fun with Monsters. I've played this game with AJ Pickett, Wally DM, Dungeon Class, who frankly, they're the ones who spearheaded this idea in the first place, Mark and Gonzo. And then also I've done it with Eric from Fry Minis, No Fun Allowed, Dungeon Dad, Josiah, who else? Eviard from Beyond the Screen, a lot of different people. And we come up with fun and interesting and unusual or out-of-the-box ways of using a monster in your game. It is probably the most fun we all have, is just doing that. Right, she's coming along pretty good. It will take a little bit of time to dry, but bear in mind. Oh, thank you for the super chat. Now, hopefully, I know I'm gonna butcher your name. So, drink of water and then focus. It's Luis Perez. If I ballsed up your name, Luis, you'll let me know. I'm suspecting that Luis I got right, but Perez maybe I pronounced incorrectly. Why do you paint your miniatures instead of just buy them painted? Because it's fun. Isn't it just cheaper to buy it painted, or is it just a hobby for me? So first of all, a lot of the paint jobs on miniatures aren't that great, and a lot of people repaint painted miniatures as it is. Also too, there's a lot of people on my channel who know that in the past I've made miniatures and painted miniatures, and yes, there is a certain degree, there is maybe you're saving money by buying pre-painted miniatures. That might have been the case in the past. That's not necessarily the case now. Now, if I was to buy this pre-painted, it would probably be cheaper. But I would have to buy it in a random box. Who knows how many miniatures I'd have to buy before I get it. It's not like you can go anywhere around the world, and certainly not in New Zealand, and you can just buy singles. Now, online, yes, you can buy singles, but then you have to ship it. I'm in New Zealand. Shipping cost is about 4 times as much as it used to be. So it's not necessarily the way to go, unfortunately. Thank you for the super chat, by the way. You have ensured that I will continue to paint and blow. Paint and blow. Right, now, back to talking about the golem, which we were getting there. So infused with an elemental spirit from the earth plane, these sort of ageless guardians protect a variety of different things. They're set up to either protect like a tomb, a vault that holds something precious or important, sacred sites, and in some cases other things, but certainly the creator. They might actually be designed specifically to look after the creator so they don't get hurt, provided they have a controlling amulet or key or device. There's usually a controlling amulet made for stone golems so that somebody can take control of it. Otherwise, what happens is if you make a golem and you give it instructions, there's a chance that even if it follows the instructions you've given it, it may misinterpret those instructions and wind up killing its creator. So creators try to make sure they have a controlling amulet as well to go with the golem. That means that when the creator dies, there's often an amulet floating around somewhere in a dungeon or location that you can find to control the golem. But the problem is the golem's on the outside and the controlling amulet is somewhere inside. So you're not often going to find the amulet and be able to use it to control a golem, particularly if you already destroyed it. Bit more of a blow. Don't get too worried about this taking more than one session. I'm not going to do this over 2 live streams. It's not happening. Now, another thing to consider is that all golems are sort of almost blindly obedient to the creator, as I said, provided they are given the right instructions or you have the controlling amulet. And they're built this way intentionally. Hi, Lewis. Oh, true. So eBay isn't a resource for you, can't use. So eBay, the problem with eBay in New Zealand is it's full of overpriced miniatures, people who are charging way more than they should be. I would be cheaper for me to go into a store and buy a blind box than to buy stuff off eBay. Now, the problem with trying to buy eBay miniatures from another country is the shipping, the transport of those miniatures. It just doesn't work. I never thought about that shipping being so much because I'm in New York. Yeah, well, see, if you're anywhere else in the world, I'm in New Zealand. I'm like at the arse end of the world, so far away. So as a result of that, shipping costs were always high to begin with. But now with the pandemic, it's even worse. Oh, I'm still waiting for this to dry. I am maybe while I'm waiting for this to dry, I should show you something cool. Look, don't you worry. I'm going to paint the miniature. Dry brushing usually isn't a big problem. Paint goes on fast. Camille, when they're in a tomb, would you allow your players to just make the cave collapse and destroy it? Yes, absolutely. It doesn't have to even destroy it. It could just bury it so it can't move, get out. Absolutely, Camille. Go for it. That's Look, I think everybody assumes you have to reduce the monster's hit points completely for it to be an exciting and a legitimate way of dealing with a problem, and it's just not. You can use any technique. Okay, so let me show you some of the stuff that people have been sending me. I'm supposed to have done reviews on this stuff months ago. Alright, so while we're waiting for Mr. Golem to dry up, and it's getting there, it's actually pretty close. I feel like I'm going to be able to do something with that pretty soon. I'm going to show you some of the cool stuff that people have sent me. Now, I don't know if you know what this is. These are D&D WoW dice. Okay? This is not an advertisement to sell stuff to you, okay? You will not find links in the description to any of this stuff, because that wasn't my intention at all. This is the Hollow Dice set, the Mind Flayer set. So the design, I don't know if you can see this, but the design is that of a Mind Flayer. How cool is that? The box, when it was sent to me, D&D WoW doesn't worry too much about the fact that it costs them so much to send stuff to me. Most of the other companies do. It comes in this box. They're pretty cool. They're probably some of the best dice I've ever seen. These Hollow Dice Mind Flayer things, they're just awesome. So I will do something on these in the future, don't you worry. So don't worry that I haven't done anything yet, because I will. How are we doing with a miniature? I got a, is it a Kara Turn Ralpatha Golem? I think it is. Oh, okay, very cool, nice. Now this is another dice that I was sent. This is a single very large D20. It is the skull. So I don't know if you can tell because it's in a container. It comes in this box, and it's basically a huge D20. And it's got skulls on the corners. I'll open it up and pull it out so you can see. Now, all of their dice are very expensive, if you were wondering. Now, when they first asked me to look at these dice, I said, no, they look awful, because they were red and white or red and black, and I said they look like junk. But the changing colour of gold or silver is significantly better. You can see just how crazy these dice are, and you can see the skull. Each corner of the dice is a skull. I'll put that back in there. So I'm supposed to have done a review on this. Was it 6 months ago? That's how far behind I am. I know that's appalling. Right, that was those dice, but they didn't just send me that. And I am going to show you. Now, does anybody know that AJ Pickett had big pockets? This is the RPG mat. They sent me the RPG mat for big pockets. I asked them not to, but they sent it to me anyway. I just wanted a picture. I didn't want them to send it to me, but they sent it to me anyway. It's folded up. You can put any pen over this thing. I will show you how that works later. This is another big pockets. This is an RPG mat as well. Some of these mats are for character sheets. Some of these are for just putting miniatures on. These are hollow dice, but they're knights. It's based off knights and shields. It's a very unusual set. Kind of in the same vein as the, the Mind Flayer set, but these have got shields, helmets, and swords on them. So every side, the variation is quite immense. And then they also sent me in the gold, but they also sent it in bronze to me as well. I have a lot of stuff in my office right now. All of which I'm supposed to have reviewed. All of which I have not reviewed, but will eventually. Okay, all right, let's get back to painting miniature. I'm going to do the... Now, is this... It's still quite damp. This is why I hate this time of the year. This time of the year, it's so humid, nothing dries properly. Nothing. I'm going to attack the base with some brown and give the miniature time to actually dry up a bit more before I dry brush. Which means I'm going to have to do some cleanup later. Move that. Standard brush. And let's get some paint on this thing, because I'm doing a lot of talking and I haven't done an awful lot of painting. It's just been black. This does happen in some of my my streams. You just get me talking while we wait for paint to dry. To be fair, as the day heats up, it's probably going to dry faster. Oh, man. Ah, there. More water. That was much better. Good. Right. Brown. Now, am I using the right brown? It's the wrong brown. So I grabbed the Minotaur Hide. I want to use that later. So I'm going to use I'm actually using... Well, that's the wrong one too. The Owlbear Brown is darker. So we're going to start with that one on the base. So squeeze that out. I'm not watering these down. I found that they've got enough medium in them that you don't need to water them down. So no watering. And we start painting it on. Nothing particularly special. So yes, if you guys were wondering, or anybody was ever wondering, do I get stuff sent to me to review? I absolutely do. It's not necessarily everything that I want to have sent to me. It would be nice if Wizards of the Coast would just send me the books because they're so expensive. Yes, I have to say that D&D WoW has been very good to me over the years. And continue to be very good to me. And with a lot of the dice that they make, I mean, seriously, not all of them are great, but I would say the vast majority of the stuff that they make is pretty impressive. It's just the price that always scares you, because they are expensive. Metal dice are always expensive. And I'm not a fan of metal dice. If anybody has not figured it out, I actually don't like playing with metal dice. I prefer transparent dice that you can see through that are made out of acrylic or plastic. And I know that sounds cheap, but seriously, I prefer that type of dice. I actually also like wooden dice, and I know that sounds strange. Wooden dice are very expensive. I could never afford to buy them, even though I have some. That's just because somebody sent them to me. Camille, I'm glad you like the dice. Do you have an Owlbear model? Yes, I do. I have quite a few that are already painted, pre-painted, and I have one that came in the box. The Nolzur's, was it Nolzur's Monster Pigments? Is it Nolzur's Marvelous Monster Pigments? That box actually has a limited edition Owlbear, and I have that. I've painted that already. And I don't know if you can find the video now for that, or the live stream for it, but I did paint it in a live stream. A lot of people refer to that as the Owlbear that looks like a grandpa. It's in jest, if you hadn't figured it out. Okay, I'm going to have a little bit of problems with this, but oh, thank you, Todd, for the super chat. Thank you very much. Thanks for all your Lost Mine of Thandelver content. I've never been a player. I just jumped straight into being a DM. Your videos have been immensely helpful. Well, that's great, Todd. I'm glad to hear that. Can I just say, Todd, I was listening. all those polls you guys answer and put comments in, I've been trying to go through all of the comments, and one of the things that has become obvious to me, and it's people like yourself who wind up dungeon mastering but never get to play. I really want to make a video that tries to convince players that they should be a dungeon master. I know that Matt Colville does this, and I have in the past kind of done that as well. But maybe I need to do it again. I feel like maybe it's not just about telling you you should just do it. It's maybe showing you in a small space of time how simple you can make it for yourself, so that people who are reluctant to do it, thinking they can't do it, can do it. And that would mean that you wouldn't have to be a dungeon master forever, which unfortunately can happen sometimes. It is nice to have a group, and probably the best groups are those where you have somebody who's willing to dungeon master like yourself, Todd, and then you've got other people who are willing to take over the role later on. And I know a few of you are dungeon mastering for your kids, but the reality is that you give your kids enough time, they will get... Look, when your kids start dungeon mastering for you, they'll be better at it than you are. I've seen it happen. I have literally seen a father and a son playing in the same game, and the son decided to dungeon master, and surprisingly the son was immensely good at it. It's because they have had more experience recently than anybody else. Make-believe is their pastime, mate. They do that all the time. As adults, we do this very little. But thank you again, Todd, for the super chat. Overboard DM, hi Joe. What do you got here, Joe? I bought a set of those Cthulhu dice through your affiliate link. Ah, right, you're talking about the Mind Flayer ones. Yeah, now a lot of people bought those dice. You guys, thank you for doing that, Joe, by the way. You freaked out Emily over at D&D WoW. And then they started, this is why they sent me these dice. They said, you have to do a video review. And I said, Amelia, I don't have time. When do you think it's going to happen? I've got too much going on. The channel's not about just doing reviews on stuff. That's not the purpose. I'm not doing dice reviews and that's it. It's just, it doesn't work. But she insisted, so she sent it. Ah, dear. Yes, these things do happen. I'm not kidding you. But so many people bought those dice that they decided, remember I had to give some of those dice away. They said, yep, we're going to give some dice away. And we did a little competition, which I don't normally do that sort of thing. Lewis, what do you got here? I've done a stone golem once, but made the amulet into a ring instead. Ah, cool. And my players cut off the creator's hand and took control of the golem, which was pretty cool. That sounds very funny. Lewis, what do you got here? I'm lucky. We have 2 DMs and me and a friend, and we switch off, and now one more of my friends wants to run a one-shot in a few weeks. See, that's the thing. Run a one-shot. Really simple, easy one-shot. Okay, let's get back to what I was doing, which is I was doing the brown, but I think it is time to hit it with the grey. Where is the grey that I was going to use? Lich. There it is. It's dry enough, I think, that the miniature will be able to take the paint. Now, another thing, too, for those of you who have been waiting, I have been working on written scripts for all of the Lost Mine of Phandelver stuff. It's just taking me a long time because there's so much of it. There's like 46, 47 videos, all of which had notes that I didn't necessarily have written up or typed up. And so I have to go through and do all of that. And it takes forever. Honestly, it takes forever. But I'm getting there slowly. And I have every intentions of making that work if I can. And available to people. I don't know when, though. Is that Jose? Is it Jossie? Joshu Roman. Nice job. I really like when you use minis in your tutorials. Yes, I haven't done a lot of that recently, have I? I know I said I would. Do you know, the honest truth is I just don't trust Wizards of the Coast not to change the rules sufficiently that I will wind up with all those videos that take me a lot of time, winding up being absolutely useless to me. So yeah, okay, here we go. Let's try the Lich Skin color, which is it's a type of grey, and we're going to be relatively aggressive with this paint. So we need to get plenty of it on. Work my way along the sides. You can see it's super simple. It isn't tough. I know it's going to come off in the brown. Don't worry too much about that. We can fix it later. Okay, which is why I'm not doing the last brown color until I've dealt with the miniature itself. Now, because I'm only dry brushing, you don't have to worry about the drying time, because the paint will dry so quickly because it is going on in such small amounts, and it's not going on wet. But you also need to be careful that you wind up with your dry brush not getting covered in paint that doesn't come off. Right, there we go. So yes, I have been working on that quite a lot, at times when I probably shouldn't. I'm not going to go into too much detail about that because there isn't enough time to actually do it. I have to find time when it's not appropriate to be doing it. And yeah, so, but then again, I guess how I use my time is how I use my time. That's just how it is, right? I'm not going to say anymore. They will eventually come. Look, I haven't just been doing the Lost Mine of Phandelver stuff. I've been doing everything. Trying to condense all my stuff on Google Docs and then turn them into PDFs. It is taking me forever. But given enough time, it'll all wind up there. And I've noticed that somebody just recently has actually started downloading some of the notes that I put up there, because on Patreon a lot of people don't seem to bother to check out the videos or that I've put up, or to even grab my notes, you know, because I do nowadays. I make sure my notes are there. Okay, they're always there now. I always make sure it's on Google Docs, and then I can just transfer it over to a PDF later fairly quickly. So I stopped writing in little notebooks. I had like so many little notebooks everywhere, covering everything under the sun. So you can see that some of the details are actually starting to show up because we're putting on so little paint. What do you got here, Joe? Fred also has cool coffee mugs. Yes, there is a coffee mug with a gold dragon with a top hat on it, for those of you who are interested in that sort of thing. My brother actually asked me if I would like to do another design, and I said yes. I'm playing with doing a giant D20, where you see the 20 and it's hitting a planet like an asteroid, and then you see like a whole lot of little monster bodies flying off the planet, and putting monster level extinction event. I just thought that might be a very cool idea to put into a t-shirt or on a mug, for those of you who like the idea of having something that's more about what the D20 does to the monsters. And I thought it was entertaining myself. I've drawn some of it, and I just need to hand over the concept to my brother so he can finish it, because he's really much better at that sort of thing than I am. But yes, right now I do have the gold dragon with the top hat. And keep rolling those 20s seems to be my catchphrase. Man, I've noticed a lot of people seem to be copying parts of that. Not completely, but I don't know how I feel about that. Is it? It almost feels like a compliment. Because I know where they've got it from. But then I also know where I got my inspiration for doing it as well. Okay, so now that I've done that, we need to move on to another color. For those who were thinking, seriously, is this going to come? Is this coming of anything? Yeah, it is. Dungeon Stone is our next color. Dry brush. Moving the palette. Camille, what do you got here? Thanks, HowtoDandD, for making a guide for ambushes and disadvantage. disadvantage and advantage. They really helped me because it's not explained that good in D&D books. No, it isn't. So advantage and disadvantage I've done quite a lot on. Ambushes, surprise, perception. I mean, I've done so much stuff on that, it's not funny. Can I just say, don't feel bad if it feels confusing, because it's very confusing. It is probably one of the hardest aspects of the whole thing, is trying to get your head around what's going on with this stealth, hiding, hidden, which is different, in combat, out of combat, movement speeds, perception, stealth check. I mean, it just goes on and on and on. I won't torture you too much. Joshua. Now, look, if I got my... Yep. You didn't butcher. Okay, so it is Joshua. Joshua Roman. Whew. Oh, okay. Oh, that's good news. If you've watched any of my videos, you know I'm quite capable of butchering names. Now, I am undecided as to what I will paint tomorrow. Yes, I'll be back, same time, same bat channel, to do it all over again. And is that doing anything? It may be just such a slight change in grey that I'm not seeing it. Or is it just not, there's not enough paint on there? I don't know. Let's do the big areas. I feel like the other areas I'm not so worried about. Hands, outside of hands, underarms, under the armpit, up the keister, round the legs, and the side, and the other side, on the inside of the leg. There we go. We're getting it. It's going in. Now, for those of you who are unaware of what's been going on with regard to some of the YouTube channels that are making content on YouTube, more and more people are joining and collaborating, and there's a reason for that. I'm not responsible for all of that collaboration that's going on, but I've been trying very, very hard to get people to talk to each other and actually do stuff together. And surprisingly, the number of individuals that have quite large YouTube channels is growing. And I think it's because they are intimidated by the possibility of talking to somebody else. And I have to say that I have been really impressed with how AJ Pickett conducts himself, and also really impressed with how willing Steely Sam has. Steely Sam has more subscribers than AJ Pickett, even though probably less people know about Steely Sam, frankly, because Steely Sam hasn't been around that long. But he's a really nice guy. He's very, very shy. He has a lot of good things to say. And seriously, it's like he's doing his shorts videos. He does a lot of shorts videos. And he literally, every time we talk to him and ask him a question, he's done it in 1 minute. He's given his answer in less than 1 minute. And he was just joshing with us not that long ago that he's trained himself that way that he just can't help it now. So I've been trying to convince him to do longer form content, not to stop doing the shorts, because the shorts are sort of what drives his subscribers. But he's not making any significant money doing that. So for his efforts, so I've been trying to convince him, and I've got to get him. I've got to hook him up with DungeonDad and AJ Pickett, and who else is there? Probably at some point I've got to hook him up with Jordan, if I can. I really want him to meet Jordan. I don't know about Mr. Rex. Mr. Rex is very hard to get hold of. I really am going to leave that to AJ. He's the only one, and even AJ struggles. So Mr. Rex is extremely difficult to get a hold of. All right, so pretty happy with that. Very, very simple paint job. You can see what's going on. It's not that hard. Oh, look at this. We've got a bot. Here, let me help you, bot. I will report you. Yes, you are unwanted commercial content and spam. Spam me no more. What do you got here, Lewis? Do you have the address or PO box when people can send you stuff? look, just go to my my channel about section, and I have an email address, and I will give you my address through email. I don't usually give out my address on my channel. I prefer people to actually communicate with me and have a discussion about what they're sending me. I've had situations where people have sent me stuff, and what they've tried to send me is wound up getting destroyed, and it's cost them $50 to send this from their country to mine, and it's been a complete waste of their time, because the end result, it's been destroyed in the process of being shipped. And if I think what you're trying to ship me is going to get destroyed, I don't want you to send it to me. Okay? I don't want you to go through that. I've seen people go through that headache, and it's frustrating for me, and it's frustrating for them. So that's why I always want to have a discussion with you via email, and you'll find my email in the About section of my YouTube channel. I need some water. Yes, I know I'm over the hour time frame. I've got to go and do some shopping for food very shortly. Now, I should really wash off this brush, but as soon as I do that, I'm not going to be able to do any dry brushing anymore. So we're not going to do that. We're just going to keep hitting with the lighter colors. We're getting there. We've got maybe, what is it? Yeah, I think maybe 2, 3 more colors. That shouldn't take too long. So we're going lighter again. I am probably going to hit the miniature in some of the higher areas rather than the lower areas. So the back, top of the arms, the top of the head, the front of the miniature, absolutely, because lighter means hopefully more detail comes out, provided I don't put too much paint on. Bot, be gone. That's right, John. Hi, John. How's it going? Up the front, where we want the detail, and the sides there, not all of it, along the face and the head. And then the fists, I think the front of the fist, maybe the inside a little bit here, down the leg, onto the foot, down the leg, onto the foot. Okay, I am not going to hit the back of the miniature on the legs. That's quite deliberate on my part, okay? That's enough. I didn't use very much paint. I mean, I put out a lot of paint, but I didn't use very much, for those of you who are wondering. That was the Orc Skin. Sorry, by the way, I didn't mention that, did I? This is the Gelatinous Blue. It's kind of like a blue-grey, very light blue-grey. I think the change of the weather is going to mess up my voice. Oh. I really hope I'm not getting sick. I just don't want that to happen. It would be sucky if I got sick on my holiday. It would be sucky if I got sick. Yeah, okay, Fred. Where did that come from? I wasn't intending for the pun. Okay, so now I've got this very light grey blue on the miniature, and I need to be careful where I put it, and I need to be careful how much I put on, because it's going to make it look very white otherwise. So very carefully along the back where I'm less concerned, and there again, along the top of the miniature where it's most likely to be seen, and the top, like so, along the top of the arm and the fist. We can make those lighter areas. Okay, and then on the outside of the leg, absolutely, we can do that. But really nowhere else in terms of lightening it up. I don't want to lighten it up in places where the light's not really striking it. The face is fine. We can do the face. This is really the final sort of layer of color, and you'll notice that each time it sort of brings out what's going on. I don't want to go over there too much. That's all right there. No, we'll leave that alone. Front of the leg down here a bit. Front of the leg down there a little bit. And that's it. So I haven't dry brushed the whole thing. I've only dry brushed where I thought it was going to be necessary to help highlight the miniature. And I'm looking at the eyes now, and there's no way I'm going to try to put eyes into this thing, which is a shame because I would like to. I wonder if I can. Should I do it? Okay. All right. You're in the chat. Let me know. Should I use just a little spot using a toothpick for the eyes using Cambion red, or Cambion Crimson, which is it's a very deep red. It's a dark red, so it might go with it quite well. Just underneath where the sort of the eyebrows for this thing is. If you think it's a good idea, let me know. If you think it's a bad idea, let me know. I would be interested. Let's make sure I get all my paint off. Now, I have not finished with the base. What got me started in D&D? Reading books on fantasy, frankly. But if, like, I did actually talk about this yesterday, Josh, but if the short story, if you watch the live stream I did yesterday, I talk in detail about my history with Dungeons and Dragons. But if you want the short end of the stick, my first encounter with Dungeons and Dragons was I bought the books, didn't know how to play the game, and wound up playing with some friends after work on a Friday, drinking ginger beer and playing the D&D board game along with Dungeons and Dragons Advanced, second edition, but I didn't use everything. So yes, that was my experience with it. Okay, so now back to the lighter. Joshua, you're Joshua Gardner, new to D&D 2. All right. Make red eyes. Okay, Camille, red eyes. There's a 1 vote. Why not add small cracks instead of eyes? I could, but I don't think my skills are sufficient to handle that. Let's get real. My eyes are old. Okay. At least seriously, at least I didn't say my bowels are old. I did now, though. But yeah, there's a limit to what I can do successfully. I know this. And I think that it would be just too difficult for me. But red splotch for eyes, I could probably handle. So I'm using a dry brush. I'm going to have to be careful because I'm going to keep away from the feet. So positioning, remember, when we dry brush, we don't have to dry brush the whole thing. We can actually place paint roughly where we want it to be. I'm not telling most of the people in here know all this stuff already. For those of you who think that I'm actually doing an instructional video, it ain't. Most of the people who are following this stream are extremely good painters often. Not all of them, but yeah. some are new, some are new. I'm an old painter whose skills have gotten worse. How's that sound? Age has come upon me. Right, now let's I'm going to use the smaller brush. This is an older standard size brush, but I can actually place the paint a lot easier, and I can just brush it on fairly light. So I'm sort of brushing a little bit off, and then I'm going to go around where the feet are and go light, just to help differentiate the rock from where the feet are planted, and to help get rid of some of the grey that I might have put onto the base. And then anything that I balls up will be hidden by washing the miniature with a darker colour. So I've got 3 different washes that I can use, and one of them will be suitable for what I want to do here. That's one of the things I liked about the Nolzur paint, is that they do actually give you 3 washes that you can use. What's that, Joe? Fred, so how do I find your Discord group? I hear you have one now. Yeah, I do. I'm not going to tell anybody about it, Joe, until I'm off holiday. So when I finish my holiday, I will tell people about it, and I will put a link to it so that you can come and hang out with me while I'm editing videos and so forth. If you've got a webcam, you will be able to come and chat with me, or a microphone. Although I'd like to be able to see people. It always feels strange when I have a camera and somebody else is just a disembodied voice. So it'll happen. I just don't advertise the fact that it exists. I know that's weird. I get it. I understand, but yeah, I guess in the past I needed to have some privacy, but I've also discovered that because I'm spending so much time working on stuff, YouTube, you're not helping with that. Seriously, there are so many bugs in YouTube right now, it's not funny. That I was always reluctant to sort of do that sort of thing, although I had thought about it. But it's when Eric from Fry Minis... Oh, another bot. Let's report you, shall we? You are unwanted commercial nonsense. There we go. Yeah, we got you. Aha. Fry Minis, Eric, he convinced me after I hang out with his little group, and I was like, okay, this is actually something I should do. So I'm going around the edge with a little bit more of this brown just to make it a little dark. Well, is it lighter? I'm just putting more paint on, basically. You don't have to do that. Seriously, it would be fine. I mean, the problem is, you know how it is when you get to a miniature and you're painting it, and you just don't know when to stop, when to put it aside. I'm already like almost 20 minutes over my time for today. I should be going and buying food and having breakfast and stuff like that, going to the beach, things like that. Important stuff, right? No, I'm painting a miniature. It's because I struggle with putting aside the miniature and saying, yes, I have finished. And if you have that problem, I can assure you, I am just as guilty of suffering from that as you are. All right, thread the needle. Oh, look at the control of that hand. Isn't that appalling? Look at the shaking. All right, more water. Okay, I'm going to do the eyes. I'm going to use this red, this Cambion Crimson. I don't know that they will necessarily show up that well. And I'm only going to attempt it twice. If I stuff it up, I'm not going to fix it. I'm going to just leave it and put it aside and say, Fred, you should have known better. Now, I've got paint on there, and I just need to test it first. Dop, 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 dop. I think the first one was the best way to go. Dop, yeah. Paint on. Oh, jeez, I'm so nervous now. Oh, okay. Okay. That's that one. Take paint off. Okay, that one came out bigger than the other. But I'm going to put it down to, that's all I can do with my level of skill. How's that sound? So yeah, Joe, when I'm not on holiday, I'll open up the Discord server so that people can chat with me while I'm working just before I go to my other job. So let's show you the miniature. There's not a lot going on here. Actually, there's something I do want to do. And you can do this yourself if you feel inclined. And that is sometimes it's nice to pick out certain areas. So I'm going to get a layer brush. It's a layer brush. You thought I'd finished, eh? I'm going to use the Gelatinous Blue because it's a very light color. And then I'm going to use just a small amount of that on my very fine detail brush. And I'm going to pick out certain things that I want to sort of show up more. And I think this little middle section, I'm going to go over that a little bit more. Be a bit more deliberate about how much paint goes on there, rather than the big dry brush as such. So it stands out just a little bit more than everything else. I got to clean it off because the tip of the brush dries fast. Do that again, but this time there's this little ridge around here, and I want to do that as well. And I just got to be careful about where I start. I'll do the edge, edge, and then across. And then work my way down. Alright, that worked relatively well. Let's do that again. Edge, 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 and then across. And the intention is just to make it stand out just a little bit more from everything else. You might like to think that this is like the control collar of your monster or your golem. Maybe these are the more vital sections of it. Not that you can do called shots in Dungeons and Dragons, but edge, 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 stroke, 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 just little bits of paint. Okay, alright, I've got to clean that brush, it's going to get damaged otherwise. And do it again. Same sort of process. Edge, edge, edge. Oh, too much maybe. And then just brush across. If you're going to do this with a fine detail brush, you really want to be careful that you don't let the paint dry on the tip. Because it's almost like dry brushing with a layer brush, which is like not a great idea. Now, I'm also thinking maybe this little section in the front here where the head is, I'd like to make stand out as well. So I'm going to do that. Sorry, just a little bit of paint off. And then we'll just go edge. I think that edge there, I'm going to hit. Paint along there. Paint along here. And then hit the front section just to make it stand out, and maybe along that section there as well. It's very, very subtle. I'm aware it's just very, very subtle. But sometimes subtle is fine. Oh. And I feel like subtle with this is probably the best way to go. Okay, those little bits there I think are the ones that I want to stand out. Everything else I'm less concerned about. Everything else is fine as it is. And I think that will do. We have completed, well, I have completed my miniature. Hey, look, thank you for everybody who hung out with me today. It's been very fun. Let's have a look at this poll. So, based on our poll that I put up, with regard to the stone golem and how many people use it and so forth, I use a toothpick on a sharpened pencil for painting eyes. Sounds like a good idea, Josh. So we have no experience, 39% with the stone golem. Well, that's a shame. Tends to be high level play too, I guess. I have painted a miniature of a stone golem, 25%. 21% I have fought a stone golem. Cool. And I have run a stone golem, 14%. Yes, for those of you who have hung out with me for a very long stream where I paint a miniature stone golem, black and grey, essentially, well done. You've done extremely well. I am amazed, and thank you for everybody who gave the super chats, everybody for hanging out with me. Thank you to my patrons. Thank you for people who are supporting me by watching my stuff. I do appreciate it. Wherever you are in the world, I suppose I should say the normal things, but no, I can't be bothered. I'm not. Look down in the description if you really want to. Anyway, wherever you are in the world, whether it be the morning, the afternoon, the night, or the wee early morning, please look after yourself, your family, and your friends. Be nice to your neighbours. And hey, till next time, keep rolling those 20s. Well, I'm glad that was the case, Todd. If it helped you along, good news, and thank you for the super chat.